You've heard of the plagues, the burning bush, the parting of the sea. But behind every great moment in Moses' life stood one man history often overlooks, his brother, Aaron. While Moses stammered before Pharaoh, Aaron spoke the words that shook an empire. While Moses climbed the mountain to meet God, Aaron held a fractious nation together. And when Moses finally broke under the weight of leadership, it was Aaron who failed him, and Moses who chose forgiveness over justice. This is the story of the partnership that freed a nation from slavery, and the bond that ultimately could not survive the wilderness. If stories like this resonate with you, hit like and subscribe for more videos. To understand these two men, you have to understand where they began. They were born into genocide. Pharaoh, threatened by Hebrew population growth, had ordered a systematic drowning of every male child in the Nile River. Moses entered the world under this death sentence. His mother hid him in a woven basket sealed with pitch. His sister Miriam watched from the reeds as Pharaoh's daughter discovered the child and took pity. When the princess needed a nurse, Miriam stepped forward and offered her own mother. The irony was complete. Moses was raised by his own mother, paid by the Egyptian government to do so in the very palace that had ordered his death. Aaron, 3 years older, experienced none of this protection. He remained in the slave quarters. He grew up Hebrew in the fullest sense, making bricks under the taskmaster's whip, learning the songs of oppression, watching his people break under forced labor. He knew he had a brother in the palace. Family networks and slavery stay connected through whispered news, through relatives who serve in noble houses, through the grapevine of the oppressed. But knowing and knowing are different things. Aaron knew Moses existed, he did not know Moses. They were strangers bound only by blood and a secret neither could safely speak aloud. Then Moses, at 40 years old, saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew. He killed the Egyptian, buried him in the sand. When word spread, Moses fled across the desert to Midian, where he married, fathered children, and settled into the life of a shepherd. For 40 years, he disappeared from history. Aaron remained in Egypt, aging, laboring, perhaps assuming his brother was dead or forgotten. Then the burning bush. God speaks from flame that does not consume. Moses argues, "Who am I to free a nation? I am nobody. I am slow of speech. I cannot do this." God's answer is not reassurance, it is a name. Aaron. What of your brother Aaron, the Levite? I know he can speak well. Even now he is coming out to meet you, and when he sees you, his heart will be glad. Aaron had received no vision, no command, just a restlessness, an impulse to walk into the wilderness, a need he could not explain. When he saw Moses, the text records one action. He kissed him. No questions about 40 years in a palace, no resentment about escaped labor, no jealousy about the burning bush, just recognition, relief, and then immediately, show me what God has said. For months, they stood before Pharaoh as one. Aaron spoke the words, Moses raised the staff. The Nile turned blood, the frogs rose, the locusts came. Each plague delivered by two men who had learned to move in rhythm. Aaron wasn't a sidekick, he was the mouth. Moses was the prophet. The distinction mattered. Then Moses climbed Sinai for 40 days. The people panicked. They demanded gods they could see. And Aaron who had faced Pharaoh, Aaron who had spoken for the Almighty, caved. He collected their gold, carved the calf, built an altar, declared a feast. When Moses descended with stone tablets written by God's finger, he found his brother presiding over chaos. Moses didn't strike him, didn't disown him. He confronted him, burned the calf, ground it to powder, made Israel drink it. Then he turned to Aaron and asked what happened. Aaron's answer is almost embarrassing. They gave me the gold, I threw it in the fire, and out came this calf. As if he had no will, as if the fire did it. Moses prayed for him anyway, interceded, took Aaron's failure onto his own shoulders. That mercy would echo years later when Aaron and Miriam challenged Moses' authority, questioned his wife, implied he wasn't special. Moses said nothing in his own defense, just waited, and God defended him, then struck Miriam with leprosy. Aaron had to beg Moses to heal her. The dynamic had shifted. The older brother who once gave the younger his voice now needed that voice to save his own sister. 40 years. They wandered together, aged together, buried a generation together. The people they had led out of Egypt died in the desert. New leaders emerged. The promised land came into view. And then, at Meribah, Moses broke. The people demanded water. God told Moses to speak to the rock. Instead, Moses struck it twice, shouting, "Shall we bring water for you out of this rock?" We, as if he and Aaron were equals in the miracle, as if God's power needed their force. The water came, but the consequence followed immediately. Because you did not believe in me to uphold me as holy in the eyes of the people, you shall not bring this assembly into the land I have given them. Moses would die in the wilderness, and Aaron, standing beside him, received the same sentence. Months later, God spoke again. Aaron will be gathered to his people. He shall not enter the land. Moses was commanded to take Aaron up Mount Hor in the sight of the entire community and strip him of his high priestly garments. Imagine this moment. Aaron, watching his son Eleazar receive the robes he had worn for decades, watching his own succession, knowing he would breathe his last on this peak in this hour with his brother as the only witness. The text says Aaron died there on the mountaintop. Moses buried him, sealed the grave, walked back down alone. The community mourned 30 days. The text does not record Moses' grief. He could not afford it. He had to continue leading people who would, within months, complain again, rebel again, force him to his own death on another mountain, looking at a land he would never enter, beside a brother he would never see again. Moses had a secret weapon, but weapons break under pressure. Aaron gave Moses his voice, then used his own to challenge him, to fail him, to beg him for mercy. Moses gave Aaron his grave, then walked away to find his own. They freed a nation from slavery. They shaped a covenant that would define civilization. They never set foot in the land they spent their lives seeking. But for 40 years, in fire and failure and silence and desperate prayer, they were brothers. That was the bond. That was the cost. That was enough.